great. Thank you, Jesse. You've been a great resource for me since finding infinite banking and just having you in my pocket, somebody I can turn to, and you're very knowledgeable, and I appreciate the way that you make infinite banking so digestible.
So you're working in your career and in your field. What did that exposure to infinite banking look like? How did that happen?
And I realized I didn't really have too much knowledge on how to handle that money. Looking forward and thinking man, I know a lot of money has gone through my hands, but how much do I have to show for it?
Awesome. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you. It's good to talk to you, Jesse. I really appreciate you and who you are and how you come across. You're a good person.
I appreciate that. Hello and welcome to the Durham Talents channel. My name is Jesse Durham. This is a great pleasure for me. I have my good friend Liz DiRocco from Washington State on with me today. We're going to be discussing her exposure to infinite banking, her implementation of infinite banking, and what she's up to now. So I hope that you enjoy. All right, Liz, welcome to the Durham Talents channel. How are you?
I'm great, Jesse. Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this since you asked, so thank you so much.
Right. And it was one of those things that I knew it was going to be in the works from the time that we met, because we met through infinite banking. That's how we know each other. We didn't know each other prior to you knowing it and I knowing it, and us getting to meet that way. So that means I got to hear some of your story about how you were exposed and introduced to infinite banking. And I wanted to have, an opportunity to ask more questions one-on-one. We're in, a group setting more often than not. Now you and I will text each other, we'll call each other and things. But we've not had this kind of a conversation. So what I like to do is when I know somebody and like somebody that I'd like to just know more about them and how they came to infinite banking and everything else, I would probably ask to record that conversation, because I feel that other people benefit from hearing other people's stories. And anybody that has heard about how I was exposed to infinite banking, it's going to be very different than yours. So if you would, let's just start at the beginning, right? Let's go back to anything that you'd like to cover before you were exposed to infinite banking. Who were you before you were exposed to infinite banking?
That's great. Thank you, Jesse. You've been a great resource for me since finding infinite banking and just having you in my pocket, somebody I can turn to, and you're very knowledgeable, and I appreciate the way that you make infinite banking so digestible, at least for me anyways. And I totally agree with you. Everybody's story is so unique and so different, and the relatability is just there, because there's people similar to us that maybe don't feel in line with, financial literacy in general. And maybe if they hear our conversation, they'll be like, wow, I was like Liz, and Liz figured it out. I think I can too.
Exactly.
So thank you. Who was Liz before IBC? I have changed so much in my thinking since discovering infinite banking, for sure. And it has allowed me to really evolve into somebody who really does think long term. And I know I'm saying so many things from the book, and the book we're talking about is Becoming Your Own Banker. But that book it's like a second Bible for sure, as far as the values that it portrays, and really where I'm finding myself just naturally progressing, getting more into the nitty gritty of infinite banking. But before IBC, I was an employee. I've been an employee since I was 17 years old.
Tell me about that. What was that first job then? That makes me curious as soon as you say that. And I'll tell you mine. So I'll go first. All right. No, ladies first. Ladies first. You go ahead. What was the first job?
I was, my very, very first job, I ended up quitting, never going back to, but it was Taco Bell, honestly.
Okay.
I was in the kitchen in Taco Bell. They wouldn't even let me in the front. I was straight up dishwasher.
All right. Now, that makes me have a follow-up question. Do you still go and eat at a Taco Bell now?
Not a chance. No, I don't
okay.
think. I've cut out fast food for 12 years now, probably.
Right. And that makes sense. But I mean, before we hit record, we're talking about barbell training and healthy lifestyle habits and things like that. So, but I was just curious. All right. Very cool.
Yeah.
Taco Bell, and you quit. What made you quit? What was it? Just not your speed, food service? Like, I won't say, you tell me.
I want to say first, like when I did cut out fast food, Taco Bell bean and cheese burritos were my longest standing craving. Like that was just the thing that I craved, and I'm not sure why. They're just delicious. They're designed that way in a lab, so no fault of my own. I quit because they shoved me in the dish pit, and I worked alongside like just grown men, Mexican men that didn't really like take any time to like make me feel like a person. And the manager was also like pretty, I don't know, hard or just like not interested as well. Like, it's a pretty high turnover job. And then also in that time of my life, I was playing a lot of World of Warcraft. And so I was just thinking about getting home and playing video games. So
Awesome.
It's kind of like yeah.
See there, this is the kind of stuff that I wanted to know. Okay. Yeah. This is the kind of stuff I wanted to know. Okay. All right. So my first job was I was a camp counselor / maintenance hand at a nature center. So, I was helping to maintain trails. So, driving a truck, running us all, whatever, to maintain hiking trails and such. And then they would put on summer camps. Okay, neat. All right, very neat. World of Warcraft and Taco Bell.
That is so cool. That is such a cool first job. I've always thought like being like a park maintenance person, like even for the city or just like maintaining trails and like making sure everything's good. Like that always seemed really fun to me, except like cleaning the bathrooms, but everything else seemed like really cool.
Yeah, I didn't do that. Now the property that I maintain is my own. Now we've got, the orchard and the blueberry patch and the vegetable garden and, our little vineyard and the chicken lots and those types of things and the walking paths around our property. So I'm still maintaining property. It's just ours now.
For sure.
I like that. Okay. All right. So, all right. Anything else from 17 and first job then to exposure to infinite banking, whatever you'd like to share.
For sure. So from that job, I ended up actually meeting somebody in Massachusetts through World of Warcraft. And I moved to Massachusetts when I was 18 years old and became a housekeeper there at a Howard and Johnson. And that was definitely an experience. And then from there, moved back, was a housekeeper here in Washington for quite some time. I did extended stay hotel housekeeping and in-house housekeeping, like, as a side gig, I guess. And then I was a bit angsty for sure. I got a job at a gas station, and this kitchen manager who worked at a bar near the gas station would come in and buy beer and cigarettes. And every day I'd see him wearing his bar shirt, and I would always ask him for a job. Finally, I asked him so many times. He was like, just come in. I'm tired of you asking me. I think I got something for you. So I got into the restaurant business, and that was 14 years of working in the restaurant since then. So I've done everything from a dish dog to prep cook to line cook, fry cook, expo, running the line, hiring and firing, basically managing a kitchen, into bartending, serving, pouring drinks, managing a bar, blah, blah, blah. So
got it.
That's Liz before infinite banking.
So there's something to be said about perseverance. I mean, that's what I heard there. You just saying, give me a job, give me a job, give me a chance, give me a job. I love that. Okay. So is Washington, is that your native state? Is that where you were born?
Born in California. My mom was in the Navy, and she got transferred to Portland And we ended up in Vancouver because my parents thought it would be a better place to raise a family. And I would probably agree with that. 100%.
Very cool. Very cool. So I've been to Washington, I think just one. No, that's not true. A couple of times. The last time that I would have been out there, and you'll appreciate this. So the last time we would have went out there, we would have used our policies to buy tickets for me, my wife, and our two oldest sons, because our daughter hadn't been born at that time, to fly out to Washington. And we got on a cruise ship and did the whole Alaskan cruise deal,
very nice.
7-day, night or whatever, Alaskan cruise, where we're going up and we're, seeing the Canadian coastline and the Alaskan coastline and stuff like that. So we would have used, that would have been 2017, I'm thinking. We would have used a policy loan to buy our tickets on that trip to do that out there. So I'm kind of jumping ahead into infinite banking, but
that's so cool.
Couldn't help but think of it. Okay. So you're working in your career and in your field. What did that exposure to infinite banking look like? How did that happen?
That happened because I was once I got out of the back of the house, in the kitchen, I started making exponentially more money in the front of the house, serving tables, slinging drinks. And I realized I didn't really have too much knowledge on how to handle that money. Like looking forward and thinking like, man, I know a lot of money has gone through my hands, but how much do I have to show for it? And being a bit of a forward thinker, seeing the amount of debt that I had accumulated by not really understanding credit cards or really not taking them seriously. Got myself into some poor credit card debt and, like I said, having lots of money and nothing to show for it and just kind of thinking, well, this isn't going to work long term. This is not going to set me up for retirement. I started thinking about retirement pretty late, I would say.
What provoked you to think about retirement? I mean, was there a certain thing that happened or somebody said something? What?
Yeah. So I work at a dive bar. I was working at a dive bar where the regulars have been going there for 30 years. So it's a bunch of old dudes and I make friends with people, obviously. And this guy, his name's Bill. Captain Bill is what we call him. Yeah, he's great. And he was an electrician. He's retired now. He's still alive. We're still really good friends and we text. He invites me to church all the time. He is an electrician and just has a really good grip on finances. And he had asked me once, what are you doing? What's your financial strategy? What's your retirement plan? Are you thinking about that? And honestly, at that time, I hadn't been thinking about that. I think I was maybe 26, 27 when he asked. And no, I said, well, Bill, you're right. I am not thinking about that. And I definitely should. So he was the one that probably kicked off my awareness and actually figuring out a strategy to save money and to consider saving for retirement. And what that looked like was, which really helped me at the time and still does, I still definitely implement that. Any gross income that I get before taxes, whatever that amount is, I'll divide it by a percentage. The percentage varies, but a percentage like 20%, 30%, 10%, and I'll take that amount and set that aside and put that in my savings account. And that really made me understand that choices matter and you got to do something.
I love that. Okay. So, and that's what it made me think was that, okay, somebody had to have said something had to have happened, because I feel like I was slow to financial literacy, like you mentioned earlier on, even dawning on my awareness. Right. So I just wondered if, somebody said something happened. Okay. So you have that conversation or Captain Bill brings it up to your attention. And even that made you start to change some of your money habits or some of your protocol, just personal finance protocol. Okay. All right. So keep connecting the dots for me then. That happened just in your career world. What brought you to infinite banking? How did that happen?
Well, that happened because even though I was still saving and I had more of a nest egg than I really ever have had, it didn't still seem like it was really working, because obviously my awareness was peaked and I am a bit of a forward thinker and realistic. And I realized like my debt still wasn't going down, even though I stopped using my credit card and I was making payments like I should. You know, the interest really kills you. And we already know that's like the scam, basically. So I guess a couple of years had gone by. COVID happened, and I wasn't working, so I really wasn't like thinking about saving too much. You know, I was just figuring out what to do next, basically. I did invest in certification to become a certified functional health coach, and I did that for about 3 years through COVID. So that went towards, like, my savings went towards that certification. And yeah, like I said, I went back to, well, I didn't say, but going back to the bar, working with clients, you know, that picked up a little bit, but I didn't really pursue that as much as I thought I had, or I thought I was going to. I couldn't figure out the marketing and how to find my ideal client. And a lot of people are looking for a therapist and not a health coach. So, and it wasn't paying my bills. So I went back to bartending and, again, realized, what the heck am I doing here? What am I doing? So I started studying what the rich do, started listening to like Robert Kiyosaki, reading Tony Robbins books, reading about the Rockefellers, and just sort of talking to people too. Not everybody. I realized the older I get, you don't want to talk to people who aren't where you want to be. Because like if you're talking to somebody who's poor about financial advice, you know, you're not really going to find it. My current partner, actually had mentioned infinite banking to me, and he didn't fully understand it, but he's heard about it at the time. And then one day he had said, "Honey, I found this guy on TikTok. He's like making a lot of sense. I think you'd like his energy. You got to hear him." And lo and behold, it was Jadu. And so I started watching all of Jadu's stuff, all the Banking Bros stuff, and it made a lot of sense. A lot of people feel like it's too good to be true, in like the sense that it's like a scam. But to me, it was like a blessing. It was like God sending me an answer. And I think that's why I like becoming your own banker so much, because it's sort of how Nelson, you know, felt about it. So I'm like getting emotional, but it's true, you know, like it really felt like a blessing, like a gift, like the answer. So I just leaned into it. I got the book. I got like 3 of them. I gave them away to friends and family. I marked one up real good. I have one that's not marked. So yeah, I just ran with it, reached out to Jadu, really liked his style. He's very like blunt and straightforward, and he's a great mentor. He's a great teacher. The way he makes you think about things, and he doesn't really give you the answer, which is great. Yeah, and then got a policy, and then I asked him, "Hey man, I want to work with you. Like, I know I want to do this." So that's my story. Sticking to it.
I love it. Okay, so that makes me want to ask you all kinds of things and dive in on certain parts. So I agree 100%. I don't know if he's he's one of the best communicators. Jeremiah Do, one of the banking bros, one of the best communicators that I know. And I hear that from folks all the time that have, seen him and Jonah online that, hey, maybe I even watched other people's stuff or listened to other people's stuff and I got it, with how you communicated it. So superb communicators, the both of them.
Yes.
All right. I thought I was going to ask you one thing, but I'm going to ask you this other thing first. All right. Because, you obviously feel strongly about this, and I have my opinions, and my assumptions based on, well, you started being a health coach. So one thing that sticks out to me there is that, people that are interested in other people's health, so much so to take savings and go get a certificate to be able to work one-on-one with somebody to improve their actual physical life, is a certain kind of a person, right? Is a coaching type of a person, obviously. But you did get pretty passionate. You did get pretty emotional right there, even describing infinite banking, which I couldn't have foreseen, right? But I've also gotten a bit of an inclination into, what kind of a person you are. So I'll just tell everybody something about Liz that sticks out to me, all right, as a words guy. So we had that hurricane that came through North Carolina recently, right? And you were one of the people that, you're on the other side of the country and everything. But when you heard about it and you found out about it and everything, you're reaching out and you're texting me stuff and you're sending me a voice memo and you're saying, hey, it's actually really good to hear from you guys. And you even ended that voice memo by saying, all right, love you. And I'm that way with a lot of people. Like I've been with clients before, Liz, if somebody's local enough, I'll sit and meet with them. We'll have lunch, we'll have coffee. I'll have them over to my house. And, I've done that before. Obviously work all over the country now, but I've ended, meetings with clients and I'll end up saying, love you. And I mean it. You know what I mean? Because that's how I view that person. So I'm saying as a words guy, that meant something for me, me and my family to go through this hurricane and everything. And you send me a voice memo and even end it like that. And I appreciate it. So I just wanted to acknowledge, that strong feeling that you obviously feel about infinite banking and the coaching type of personality that you have, the interest that you have in other people. It all makes sense to me that you would have reached out to JD and talked about the professional side. I'd like to put a pin in that for a moment though, and talk a couple more points through. So I always think it's interesting that somebody sees something online and then they're the person that tells somebody else. And then that person is the one that runs with it. You know what I'm saying? Your partner was the one that saw JD online. That's so interesting. And they thought enough of you and knew enough about you to say, hey, you would like this. You ought to check this out, which is so good. Like, that's so beautiful that, hey, and I try and do stuff like that. If something makes me think of somebody, I try to let them know, whether it's a quick text message or a voice memo or something. Just like, hey, I thought about you today because of X, Y, and Z, but this just happens to be a powerful financial message that your partner saw it, told you, hey, you should turn on to this thing. And then you saw it. So what I'd like to know there is, what can you remember about that first exposure? What hurdles did you have to work through? What takeaways stuck out to you? What concepts in, a presentation or a communication provoked the most thought in you? Just anything in that realm. I'd love to hear more about.
Yeah, great question. It's really hard to think back because there's so many layers and changes in thought. When your understanding becomes deeper with infinite banking, things really do click along the way. And
it's literally that you can't unlearn what you've already learned. So I know that you're in a place now that you've already learned so many things, obviously. Yeah, it's hard to even think back to how did I think back then? But yeah, if you could think of any questions that when you saw it, it's like, that makes sense. All right, let me know that kind of stuff. That makes sense. Okay, wow, I wasn't aware of that, but that makes sense. Or you saw something, you're like, that can't be right. Anything like that.
Well, honestly, I like to identify as a conspiracy realist. And so I don't really trust banks already. I never did. I don't really trust the government either. I know we're on Zoom or whatever. They're like, I'm sure I'm on a list.
I'm already on the list too. It's okay.
So honestly, like, even though all of it didn't, the picture wasn't clear when I was first exposed to it. But the part about the insurance companies having all of the money, and that's where the banks get it from, I was like, great. I'm just going to cut this middleman out and just do business over here. And I think that was like one of the first aha moments for me, was realizing like there's really only one pool of money in the world, and where do the banks get their money, and who bails the banks out? And like, historically speaking too, you know, banks failing versus the insurance companies failing, like that was like right there. I was like, you're right. Excuse my language, you know? But yeah, that was probably my biggest, like, okay, even though I don't understand this, like, I really appreciated JDO. The fact that it's been practiced for 200 years. It's not like some new strategy on trial. Yeah, I was pretty much in, but I'm just that kind of person anyways. I think if something feels right inside of my gut, also like, you know, praying and like looking for an answer, a way out for like really enjoying my future self and my future reality. Like, I think it was pretty easy for me to just trust and practice and say, okay, let's do it.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. That's a neat piece of feedback. Seeing the relationship between banks and the insurance companies. All right. So a few things come to my mind right there that I just want to verbalize. So banks get a blocks of money from places because it's not just all deposits. And one of the places where they get that from is from these insurance companies. So it's the banks that are going to the insurance companies to get blocks of actual money that people like me and you, we purposefully, intentionally, we want to pay premiums to these insurance companies. We're actively participating in that world for the purpose of becoming our own banker. And they've got these blocks of actual money, whereas banks are lending money that doesn't exist. And that's why Nelson's fourth rule is, don't do business with banks. All right. So anyway, so you realize that's really neat. That really strikes me. The other thought that makes me think of is, let me see if I can recollect it. I told you this could very likely happen. I got 2 or 3 thoughts that are struggling at the front of my mind, and I'm verbalizing the first, and then I'm forgetting the second one actively in that moment. The banks are borrowing blocks of money from the insurance company. Here's the second piece. Here it is. The largest purchasers of whole life insurance is also banks. BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. So banks, and you can look up all the big names that we would all recognize, and they own more in cash value life insurance, whole life insurance, than they do in other asset classes, than in real estate. So yeah, okay. So understanding that that relationship looks like that was a big aha moment for you. Okay, all right. So then I want to know, what were the last boxes that you had to check? What were the last questions you had to have answered? What happened in your thinking between seeing this concept, liking this concept, and writing a check, starting a policy, paying a premium?
Just kind of basically, good question. Basically, I would say there wasn't much risk involved. Like, if you attempt this and you try it, you can get your money back. Like, nothing happens. You just don't. If you decide to quit practicing infinite banking and not pay your premiums, you can withdraw your money. It's like a bank account. You just lose the death benefit. So for me, it was like, okay, well, I can put money into this thing and it can be a scam and I'll get my money back, which doesn't really feel like a scam to me. Or I'll put my money in and it works and it changes my whole financial landscape for the rest of my whole life. That seems like not a scam to me. So it was a win-win. That's basically what it was, where I was like, okay, it doesn't seem like, it just seemed too valuable to not try to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I was at. Because I've thrown money away, not literally, but on stuff that, you know, was more risky than infinite banking. So I guess I'm not like, now I value money way more. You know, like I understand the value of it. And like, I really, truly like am beginning to really understand. We literally trade our time for money. And before, I didn't really appreciate the importance of that and understanding that. So I would just be like, yeah, you know, I'll just get more money. I'll just make more money. But really understanding, like, we're trading our time, our most valuable asset, for money. And like, I don't know, just I would throw it away on stuff that, you know, was a shot in the dark, basically. So this, making the jump here, it was like, okay, not only is it working and it helps me tremendously pay down my debt, my bad credit card debt, but it's made me appreciate my money. And it's literally, I've learned that you don't have to just work hard for your money and do that forever. You can make your money work for you. Mm-hmm. It showed me a new way of thinking where you can keep control of your money and you still have it working and growing at the same time. Like, that's where I'm at.
I love that. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's so powerful. And here's what that made me think of is some people, they're on this side, right? And they're YOLO, right? The money comes in, the money's going out. They're going to have a good time. They're and nothing against that, right? Like you can spend money, just like I said a second ago about a 7-day cruise to go see Alaska and Canada and stuff with my family. I still get to cherish those memories, right? That's a beautiful thing. That was a wonderful time. We still talk about that, all that stuff, right? And then you got the misers on this side where they wouldn't spend, you know, a penny on anything kind of thing, right? And both those, you know, exist is all I'm trying to point out. I'm not necessarily trying to make a judgment right here. But then there are some people who speak down so much about money, making it like this ick, this necessary evil, when they would not say the same thing about their time. Nobody thinks their time is evil. Nobody thinks their time is an ick. Nobody thinks their time is something dirty. But people do like to associate those things, or are commonly encouraged to associate those things as that. Does that, you follow me on that? So the same people that would deride money or wealth, okay, would not do the same with time. And yet those same people, all of us, you know, these different jobs that you were talking about, you know, everything from you working at a restaurant, you know, fast food as a young person to me, you know, camp counselor or whatever, we were taught to trade our time for money. And I don't think that we value our time the way that we should either. And yet we're the same people that'll go out and will commit an hour of our life to go out. And so we got to work is what I'm saying, right? And I believe that there's a great value in you providing your gifts, your skills, your talents, your abilities, your experience in whatever venue and means and platform that is to the world. Like you've got particular gifts that you should bring to bear, and that takes time. And you do spend time away maybe from your passions and from, you know, hobbies and travel or whatever else that is important to you as well, but to be able to do that. But I don't think that people value the time the way that we should. And that that interesting glitch or whatever that is between we'll trade time for money and yet we'll still have negative connotations towards money, that doesn't make sense to me. Now that doesn't make sense to me.
Right, exactly. Or it doesn't make sense to me that we value our time so much and we trade it for money, but to just get that money and disregard it and not understand the power of the money. It's like, whether you're a miser or a YOLO, like you're still disrespecting the money because you're not giving it a chance to work for you, and it wants to work for you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I love that. That was really good. I think that's super valuable. Okay. All right. So here's the other thing that sticks out to me, and it's so very different from my story. I saw a live presentation from a stranger, but I saw a live presentation in a room where there were some people that I had a lot of confidence and trust in. back in 2015. Okay. And then later found out that they were already doing this concept. Some of them were just seeing it for the first time, like I was. Some of them had seen it, years before. And I got to ask them questions after seeing this presentation. But you are over in Washington State, West Side, and you're seeing, somebody on the East Coast that you've never met before, talking about this idea that you never heard about before, and something made you pick up a phone and call that person. That's so very different from how I was exposed to this concept. That really, so anything else that sticks out to you from that experience of, did you have any, so you understood the concept, you liked the concept, and you were realizing things about this concept and insurance companies and banks and money. But what about calling somebody that you didn't personally know to ask them about doing infinite banking?
Oh man, I'm involved. Come on, I played World of Warcraft and flew across the country to live with a man that I had never met before. I just went and did that. So yeah, I don't know. It's just the world we live in. Like, honestly, when I talk to people about my story with infinite banking, I'm like, okay, I met my boss on TikTok. That's where I met him. And it's crazy to me to say that, especially because I was never on TikTok. Like my partner is like, I didn't have a TikTok account till I started becoming an agent and, joining the cash compound, because that's the way we roll. But yeah, it's just the world we live in. And I, over here in the Pacific Northwest, like, I'm not around a lot of people that talk about big ideas or are willing to, like I said, I could have conversations with people at the bar about financial literacy, but the people that I'm around, like, maybe they're not as expansive as I am ready for people to be. So the way JD was talking with this big concept and like making it so digestible for me, I had to do it. I couldn't not. And he tried to pass me off to Robert, and I straight up was like, no, I need to talk to you.
Okay.
He was like, okay.
All right. So that was, good for you. And I think that that's valuable too. And that's another reason why I enjoy having these podcasts conversations, because they're conversations that I want to have anyway. These are questions I want to ask anyway, and things that I like and enjoy knowing anyway. But also, again, it's a great way for people to be able to connect with other people that, yeah, they are like, no, I want to work with
Absolutely.
you, because not everybody's going to fit with me. Not everybody's going to fit with JDU or whatever. And we need good people that are out here doing infinite banking the right way and helping coach people the right way as well. So I get that, and I can appreciate that, you wanting to say, no, hey, I saw this from you, learned this from you, I want to work with you. That's great. I love it. Okay, so when you decided, yep, I'm going to work with JDU, yep, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to become my own banker, tell me about those next steps. What did the implementation of that look like? Everything from, how was your application experience, underwriting, anything that happened during that time, continuing your education on the subject, all of it.
Awesome questions. I do want to rewind real quick and just remind people out there, do not be afraid to make a call or reach out to people, especially on the web, on social media, because we are normal people. And if you connect with somebody, just hit us up. If you see us all over social, we're more than likely a real person, especially if we're saying hey, get on my calendar. Means we're taking calls. We're happy to call you, and you got to advocate for yourself. Don't just sit back and be like, oh, they never want to talk to me, or maybe they're too busy or whatever fears come up. I do feel like I'm kind of a unicorn in the sense of just being hey, I want to come talk to you. And I don't know you at all, but hello. That could be 14 years in the restaurant business, I'm not afraid to approach tables, and I know how to talk to people. So I get it, but just quick reminder to people, please don't be afraid, be your advocate. And, if you find somebody you like, I'm sure they're going to like you too. So, because JD and I are friends, like pretty good friends now. So,
yep.
And we still live across the country. Yeah. Okay. So implementation, I say, okay, I pick my premium. And that part was like, oh, I really just pick a number. That part, I think, trips some people up. They don't really like believe it, but you get to pick your number as far as how much you want to pay in premium. So once I understood that, I was like, okay. I like looked at my finances and I picked a number that felt reasonable for me, and paperwork went off. I talked to Amy, got a little onboarding call, family history type deal. I was definitely nervous about the blood draw because I am the type of person that will like pass out when I give blood. So, and that says a lot too, everybody. Like, I was like, okay, there's the solution for my problem. I got to get over this fear of getting my blood drawn. So I did that. The guy was great. The insurance company sends somebody to your house to do the blood work. He was fantastic. He's like retired military, and he was a medic out on the field. And so like he had a lot of experience, and he was a super cool guy. Laid me back, had me on the couch because we were about to do it. And I told him like, yeah, sometimes I pass out. And he's like,
take
okay,
the necessary precautions. Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, hold up. Okay, we're moving over here. So it was really good. I didn't pass out. End of the story there. Spoiler alert.
I don't like needles either. That's the only time I'm kind of okay with getting poked is, okay, I can get a new policy. All right, let's go. Otherwise,
exactly.
Otherwise I'd rather not.
Yeah, I'm not a fan at all. I'll do it again. I'll do it as many times as I'm going to get a policy.
Right, for sure.
100%.
How about the premium part? Let me ask you a follow-up on that. About the premium part. So you were told, hey, yeah, you get to pick your premium number. And yeah, that does take people back at some point, and it merits a conversation. So how did you arrive at knowing what was appropriate for you? Like you said, reasonable was the word you said, I believe. What went through your head to gauge what you considered as reasonable for yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I literally, I'm pretty sure I remember asking Jadu, like, what do you think? And he was just like, he didn't give me a number. He was just like, you get to decide. So how I did that is I just looked. I mean, I know obviously since talking to Bill from like 26, so I've been paying attention to how much I make. I think everybody should. If you don't look at your finances right now, I think that's a great place to start. Mm-hmm. What gets measured gets improved. But yeah, I just looked at what I made on a monthly average and then chose a number that felt doable. And I have a tendency to say a baby policy is what I started. I don't like to say that anymore, but I've been known to say that in the past. Not a baby policy, but I picked one that I wish I would have picked a higher premium now that I actually understand what's happening, if that makes sense.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, and then as we age as humans, and we get better jobs and we get promotions and our skills go up, like your income's going to go up. That's like a natural progression. So I did pick something fairly modest for me in my situation. And I wish I maybe would have gone up a couple more notches. And that's just understanding how policies work and like how they progress in age and how they actually function, beyond the first year. So yeah, that's basically how I came to it. I just picked a number that didn't feel too like uncomfortable, and I went with that.
Awesome. I like that. Yeah. The image, and I don't think it's a perfect analogy, but the image that pops in my mind is, a tricycle or a starter bike, is like, because we loved riding bikes as kids. That was a big thing, for me and my siblings and whatnot is riding a bike. And but we went through a lot of bikes because we'd have one that was our size at that time, and we would wear that thing out, and then it was time to get a bigger one, So policies aren't that way. You get to own these policies your whole life, whether it's big or small, it doesn't matter, right? And I certainly would rather somebody pick a slightly more conservative premium than a more aggressive premium, and ever have them feel, I wish I'd have dialed this a couple notches back before I got started, right? Mm-hmm. But that's very natural, too, that for somebody on this side of owning a policy that's used it and had it for some time to say, man, I wish I'd have started. Just like you would have said, man, I wish I'd have known about this earlier, So that's just a natural tendency. Okay, so you pick something.
Another point I want to make on that, too, is that was another reason why I picked more of a modest, is because Jadu had communicated with me the idea of a system of policies, and I realized, oh, well, I'm not limited to 5 policies or 2 policies or just one. And so I was like, okay, I'll just start with this baby policy and add on to my family tree.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I spoke with somebody yesterday. I can't remember whether it was a call that I had from Alabama or one of the other calls that I had, but somebody said, you can have more than one policy on yourself? They knew that, you could have a policy on a child. You can have more than one policy on yourself. Yeah, you can have more than one policy on yourself. So, yeah, it's worth mentioning and saying out loud. Awesome. So you had a good application experience. You had a good underwriting experience. You had your medical exam. Came time to write the premium. Anything there?
No, I was so excited. I think it took 3 weeks or so from getting poked. Everything got accepted, and then I just couldn't wait to get it going because you asked continuing education, of course, okay, I'm pulled the trigger on this thing, did the call, got poked. Now I'm waiting. Now I'm okay, well, I gotta deepen my understanding on this. And so listening to, all of TikTok and all of everybody's content, like Chris Noggle and Devin Burr, and just learning the people who are actually teaching what Nelson's writing about. Also reading his book, which everybody should reread 100 times. I just couldn't wait. I started saving money, right? Making sure I had my premium. I started saving for my paid up additions. I was cashing out my 401k. I was getting the ball rolling on that, which it's so funny. The amount of resistance the company that the 401k was placed in was giving me. And I was just nope. Just, I want that out. Thank you. Yep. I'm sure I don't want to continue. Thank you very much. I'm doing this other thing. It's called infinite banking. Check it out.
Right.
So I was I was preaching it as soon as I heard about it, before I even wanted to be an agent, before I started, even realizing this is my future path. I've been telling everybody, even when I was just starting.
Same. I experienced that myself. And so this is not me and Liz giving financial advice. Don't sue us. You do what you want with your, but I had the state retirement, and I had the 401k, and we even had other whole life insurance before getting IBC style built policies. And I had those same conversations with those same people saying, no, I actually do know what I'm doing now, and I do want my money back. Just give me that because I'm going to go do this. But I was also trying to be encouraging them. It's hey, check out this book. Hey, you need to find out more about this thing too. Awesome. So tell me then, after you had the policy, what between there and going pro happened? How'd you, and you just share whatever you want, right? What else did you read, watch, listen to? What did you do with your policy as far as, premiums or loans or just anything?
I started funding it, making my paid up additions right away. Like I said, I was saving up for that. I had enough PUA for a couple months, which again, having a little policy, but I would put in PUAs and I would fund that for a couple months, 3 months, and then I would turn around and take a lump some loan out. And then my first use was paying down my high interest credit card debt. Definitely.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'm still working on that. But everything takes time. That's okay with me. I'm so excited and like making plans on I've been learning a lot about like private lending deals and like getting into actually being the bank and like putting my leveraging debt in a more efficient way than using credit cards, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. If I could say something to that topic of, if folks were like me and they're going to use they're going to use this infinite banking for conquering bad debt, I didn't get into debt overnight. So how could I remedy it overnight? Like, this is it's not an overnight. It's not an overnight process. It's not a magic anything. It's you proactively and intentionally addressing the habits that got us into debt, while also being more efficient with our money and cash flow, like you were saying. But at the same time, instead of just trying to remedy that by paying off debt from our cash flow, like earning an income and paying stuff off early, it's, well, we're going to add this extra step of, well, we're going to grow it and compound it in this private environment that we control.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to leverage that asset, that appreciating asset, to go out and pay off the debt early, also, both at the same time. Awesome. So you started doing that. So then what, so you've not been in the journey. How long ago was it that you got your policy? When did you get your first policy?
I'm about on my anniversary date. I'm coming up on it. So it's been a year. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. So excited to see that part of the process. Like, I want to get the letter for my interest loan, and pay that, and just, so I really, yeah, exactly. Check that out and be able to share that with clients and have that conversation, be able to have that experience and like, know how about it. So really excited.
So we opened up a letter. I was telling you earlier, we drove to go vote this morning before I came into the office today. And we got a letter on one of our policies, and it's saying, yeah, here's your dividend. Here's how much death benefit it bought. And my wife still has it, or I could even show you. But that's another one of those things that it could be easy to underappreciate what it is and what it is going to be. So the dividend, $70 or whatever it was, I feel like, no, $124, I think is what it was. Okay. And this is a policy that we've owned for a few years, not our oldest policy, but you could take that. And there are plenty of people who would say that $120. Psst, what? Okay. I get it. I understand. But let's walk that out. That $124 bought me $700 something worth of additional death benefit. Now just think about that. That's $1 buying $7 something into the future. And I've only had that policy for a handful of years. People, again, underappreciate what's going to happen over our lifetime. That dividend is going to increase my death benefit, increase my cash values, and also therefore increase the future dividends that I can earn. And the compound effect that could have over the next 50 years, as I plan on still being here 50 years from now, okay, there's no telling what that can be. And again, that's just how the policy works. That's just what it's like to own one of these policies from a mutual life insurance company. If you actually bank with the policy and you make the dividends, the potential dividends that you can earn, you actually make those bigger than they otherwise would have been. And then that buys you more death benefit than you otherwise would have been able to buy. And then that makes your cash value go up to a number that otherwise it would not even have been that. And it's already going to be guaranteed to be bigger today versus yesterday, and tomorrow's going to be the same for the rest of our whole lives. But if we can actually make those numbers go up by doing banking for ourselves, infinite banking, it's really something huge when you consider the impact over a lifetime. All All right, cool.
Oh,
Awesome.
absolutely. That reminds me. I mean, if anybody listening has never seen our presentation, the compounding penny. I mean, come on, that wasn't even impressive till like what, day 20, 25, 28, something like that.
Yeah, right there at the end.
15, it got to $153. I mean, that 126. I mean, I just think of the penny.
Yep.
How that's going to act. So.
Yep. Exactly. Oh, awesome. So you're coming up on your 1 year anniversary, but somewhere along the line, right? You paid a premium. You're using policy loans. You're paying some things off, but you decided, I've had such a great experience, with these folks, with Jadu and everybody. I want to do this. I want to help. I want to personally work with people. What did that look like for you?
For me, it really just made sense because I am coming from the background of health coaching, like behavior change. That's all about habits and, focusing on strengths and goal setting. And I can't tell you how many people, like I said, around me are just, that are suffering financially. And it's because of what they haven't been taught. And so I think it just felt in alignment to my journey, and it made sense that I discovered infinite banking because I was kind of feeling like health coach, like I wasn't niche down. I didn't have like a particular thing in mind. I toyed around with a couple things, but yeah, the finances just really made sense, especially practicing it and feeling the impact in my own life pretty immediately. Like, if you really put your head down and like understand the concept and give it a try and actually like start practicing banking with your policy, you see an impact there, and it makes it more motivating to save money as well. When you realize like everything you put into this, you're going to have for the rest of your life, and it's going to be working for you. Like, you're literally paying yourself first. So yeah, it was just super motivating, the impact I seen, and then the natural inclination to want to coach people and help people. And finances is definitely something that people struggle with. And, it's really not that sexy though. I'm realizing like, okay, of course I picked financing as my niche. Because a lot of people like want to think about finances, but when it comes down to it, like a lot of people don't, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah. All the human problems immediately jump in my mind that, yes, if you ask people, hey, do you want to do good with money? Yeah, I want to do good with money. Okay. Yeah. But that doesn't take away Parkinson's law. That doesn't take away Willie Sutton's law. It doesn't take away that we're all taught and inundated and indoctrinated and propagandized to give all of our money to somebody else. So we're, negating the golden rule and all these other human problems that we have to confront. The arrival syndrome, people thinking, what, did you just say something about whole life insurance? Oh, I already know about that. And they discount it. It's just like, you said something about banking. Well, I don't even know what that means. So I don't have time for that. So all the human problems, and that doesn't change either when you do start infinite banking. That doesn't mean that, oh, I own a policy now. Willie Sutton's magically not there anymore. No. No, that government that we were talking about earlier, they're still out there. They're still trying to separate us from our money at every turn. Yeah, for sure. There are still all these things to address. Absolutely. No. All right. So you decided this was going to be part of your journey. You wanted to actively help people. I mean, I get that. We personally implemented the concept ourselves as well, and there came a natural point to where some people were asking us about it, and we had an opportunity to make a pivot career-wise as well. And I've always enjoyed working with people, just from my background and everything. So I get it. And I like hearing about that from other people's perspectives. So as a professional in the space, as a licensed agent now, but someone who particularly practices this concept for yourself, what would you like to maybe address that you would like or ask somebody to consider with you, because you've been the practitioner, you've been the professional now. And is there a subject, or is there a theme, or is there a question? Is there anything that you just like to, have a conversation around now that we're at this point in your trajectory?
I think a couple things come up for me. And earlier, this point had come up, is the idea where people have it in their heads where they have to pay off their debts before they can start. Have you ever heard that?
Yep, I sure have. Some people feel that way. Yes.
Right. And I just want to remind people that that's like the opposite thinking, basically. You use the system to pay down debt, so you don't have to be debt-free to start.
100%.
Yeah, it just always shows me exactly where they are, and just framing the conversation for them to have them understand, what's actually happening.
Yeah. That's what I would say. I agree. I agree with that 100%. I believe that if somebody says that, it shows me where their thinking is at, what their inclination is, right? And what their level of understanding is about a few different concepts, right? Like what money is. Because we would never do with money, or with the things that money buys, what we're told to do with money. Here's what I mean. When I saw infinite banking back in 2015, somebody asked me this: Jesse, would you ever buy a loaf of bread and then wait 30 years to eat it? Would you ever buy a gallon of milk and wait 30 years, 40 years to drink that milk? I said, no. He said, then why would you do that with the money? Right? And just trying to get me to think about, well, Jesse, why would you put money in a qualified plan? Just for one example, right? Just for one example. Why would you put money there if you wouldn't do the same thing with what the money buys? Okay, so, all right, I got you. If I'm not going to wait 40 years to drink that gallon of milk, why would I separate myself from that money for the next? So that's just one thing, right? That's not debt specific per se. But when it comes to the debt,
no, but
go ahead.
It really helps somebody rethink their thinking. I love questions like that helps people reframe things and to take things out of a box and to have them come to their own conclusion and be like, you know what? Maybe there's something else to think about here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there are some boxes, and I'll use your language, there are some boxes to where people are told, hey, pay off all your debt, then save up an emergency fund, then start investing into your retirement. And so that's a common thing that could be out there. And here's what I'm saying. I don't care which one of those you do. Do what you want. You could pick your order. I'm here to encourage you to be your own banker, which is a whole different subject, because here's what I know. Debts are financed. Savings are financed. Investments are financed. I'm saying you pick whatever order you want to do those things in. But you could be the banker the whole time on all those things. You could control and profit over debts that you pay off, savings that you earn and then keep, investments that you make. You could be the banker in that scenario. So I actually don't care which order people take. So no, I realize that you don't have to pay off bad debts before you can begin becoming your own banker. Just like there's a part of me that's like, man, how did they not see that? How did they not see that they could take their money and instead of just paying the debt off, they could grow it and compound it and earn a dividend potentially and create a death benefit and a cash value in this cool system that they're going to own for their whole life and use that system to pay off the debt because you can. But some people, they're just in that mode. And maybe it's because they're still thinking that this is some type of investment. So that's why I said that I did earlier, that, traditionally there are plenty of people that would say, well, no, you need to pay off your debt. And then you could save up an emergency fund. And then you can begin investing, setting aside a certain percentage of your cash flow towards. Whereas now, we've learned from people in the infinite banking space that, well, what if you did switch that up? What could that look like? Even setting aside banking. What if you instead, before you begin paying off debt? What if you saved up the emergency fund first? Could you do that? Yeah, you can. And again, it's a fun conversation to maybe I'm just trying to say it out loud so you can consider it and hear it with me and we can talk through it. But again, at the end of the day, I don't care which people choose, but I would say consider being the banker, and whichever route you choose is best for you, be the banker, because then you control and you profit. Those are my thoughts. But yeah, I've heard that. What else sticks out to you then?
Absolutely. Well, just you speaking about that, like, just helping people rethink their thinking on the importance of like control. Like, I don't know if a lot of people, like you said earlier, we're indoctrinated and brainwashed to just give our money away immediately. And we don't think 2 seconds about it. That's what we do. That's what mom did. That's what grandma did. That's what my neighbors do and my boyfriend. And, just not even realizing, again, like increase your understanding of money and how it moves and how it needs to move to grow. But if you give that money away and you let somebody else move it around versus you controlling the movement, I think that's like a really important concept in this whole thing. I mean, I know that's what I hear every infinite banker talking about, is that aspect of control.
Absolutely. Well, let me do this, Liz. So I've got a couple things in mind for us to be able to land this. Number one, I just want to give you time. You can talk about anything you want. Love to hear what your thoughts are. I appreciate you sharing your journey to where you are right now. I am going to have a few rapid fire questions. I've got to the point where I like asking some rapid fire questions. When we do all right, you want me to jump straight to there, or anything you'd like to cover first? Anything else at all? Of course, I'll put any kind of contact info that you want in the show notes. Is there any way that you'd like to verbally describe where folks could contact you?
Yeah, for sure. I'm primarily on Instagram. That's where my home base is right now. I'm also on TikTok and Facebook, LinkedIn as well, for you LinkedIn folks. Building a YouTube channel right now, figuring that platform out. Excited to get that going. But yeah, rapid fire me.
Well, all right. So give us your Instagram handle then, so people can hear, because this podcast this and all YouTube this. So what's the handle?
Okay, great. It's at Liz.DiRocco, and that's Liz.DiRocco.
Love it. Okay. Rapid fire questions then. What is your favorite book or podcast? It could be a recent. It doesn't have to be all-time favorite if you don't want, but what's a recent favorite book or podcast?
I'm a huge fan of Dave Asprey, his books and his podcast. Do you know who Dave Asprey is?
No, that's a new name for me.
Oh, really? You might like him. He's one of the leading biohackers in the health space. He's all about aging gracefully by hacking your biology, by doing natural stuff, grounding and EMF protection and fasting and cold exposure, heat exposure. He's also into hormones and things like that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm doing some of those things, but that's a new name for me. Text me something from that guy if you would.
I will. Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. See,
I think you'd like him a lot.
See, stuff like this is good. And this is why I ask these types of questions, because if I can learn in a few minutes, half a dozen of somebody else's, big takeaways from different areas of life, I want to do that. All right. So give me one of your recent favorite quotes or sayings.
One of my most recent favorite quotes or sayings. Honestly, my affirmation, I'm going to go with an affirmation.
Yeah.
And that affirmation is, it's my time. And that's what I've been hanging on to.
I love that one. All right. Tell me, what's one of your go-to healthy habits?
One of my go-to healthy habits is mindful breath. And what that means in my life is basically whenever I hear, it's this idea of when there's like a everyday trigger or sound. It could be, for me, it's when I hear a bird sing a song or call, I take that as my cue to take a deep, mindful breath and to ground down and to like tune back into my body.
Very neat. I've never heard of connecting breathing, intentional breathing for or to a sound. Oh, okay. Neat. All right. Awesome. I'm on a breathing journey right now. I've been doing some breathing daily for months now.
That's awesome.
I enjoy it.
Good for you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for your input. All right. So tell me, what's a bad habit you've broken before?
Besides not eating fast food.
Wait, that's true. You did already give us that one, didn't you? Yeah, you can say another one if you want.
For sure. When I was cooking, line cooking, I was doing like smoking cigarettes and probably doing more recreational things. So I stopped all that, which has been great. I don't drink or do. I mean, I'll have like maybe a couple drinks every quarter.
Mm-hmm. I got you. Tell me one of the most impactful people in your life, present, past, one of the most impactful people, and why?
One of the most impactful people. Oh man, I hate to say it. I mean, I don't hate to say it, like not to be cheesy, but Nelson Nash, like 100%, like he is an amazing man. And I just really appreciate him. And again, like this IBC journey has really brought me back to my faith and really ignited that again. So I think that's probably why he's so impactful. But yeah.
That's a good one. He'd get a big hug from both of us, wouldn't he? We never met him, but he'd get a big hug from us if we could today, right? So for everybody 100%. That I could say this to, because I do think honors due, where it is. If anybody listening's not seen the Nelson Nash documentary, so there's so he's got his live seminar that you can listen to. He's presenting infinite banking for, 6.5 hours. But there's a documentary that you can find on YouTube, and it's called This is Nelson Nash. I would encourage you to check that out. Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Sunrise.
Yeah, that one's good. Include that one in your show notes.
Okay. Yeah. That is a good reminder for me to put that. I try to put it in different places, but all right. Awesome. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise or sunset? Oh, good question. Oh, that's such a good question. I'm so torn. I love both, but I would say sunrise.
Okay. Awesome. Beach or mountains?
Beach or mountain? Beach.
Okay. And here's the last one. And I got this one from my boys. Would you rather be able to breathe underwater or fly?
That's a good one. Oh man. A couple things are coming up for me. I think I would normally say flying, but I think breathing underwater would be cool. One, because I'm scared of water. So maybe like natural bodies of water. So maybe if I was able to breathe underwater, it wouldn't be so scary. But also I believe aliens are in the ocean. So I would want to go check it out.
Got you. What a detailed, that's only the second time I've asked that question, I think. And I was so intrigued when my boys asked me that. I was like, I also think it must mean something psychologically or whatever the term would be, as to which answer people pick. But I don't know. That's too deep for me, but I thought it was a fun question. Liz,
what about you? I got to hear. Fly or breathe underwater?
Fly, 100%. Yep.
Yeah.
I was very intrigued when my boys asked me, because they've just been on this kick. Dad, would you this or that? Would you rather this or that? Just over all kinds of scenarios. I
don't know. I'm back and forth on the fly or underwater one. I can't give you a solid answer.
It's okay. I'm not going to hold you to it, but I thought it was fun. And that's why I've started incorporating it into the rapid fire questions, because I think it does make for a fun conversation and just it's got to mean something, but I don't know. But also, Liz, so this time's passed by real quick for me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm hoping that this is, the groundwork where people have been introduced to you. They know how to reach out to you. And then we've already got this groundwork for, future episodes that we could have together. So if you'd ever like to, dive in on a topic or share something, please let me know. Love to have more conversations with you. I appreciate having you as a friend. I appreciate you being on here. Looking forward to more times together. Okay.
Amen. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. You're very welcome. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right.
All right. Awesome. Take care. Well, that was an absolute pleasure for me to host my friend Liz on the show and us to have that conversation about her infinite banking journey. Make sure to look below in the show notes for contact information for her. Check her out on social media. Liz DiRocco, appreciate you being on here. For everybody that'd like to have a conversation with me about how to live and leave a lasting legacy, how to implement infinite banking into your household, your business, or your investing, whatever it is that you're already doing in life, I've got a free introductory presentation that you should check out, and my calendar link where you can line up a call with me is all at durhamtalents.com. Hope you have a great day. Take care.